I've never met a goldsmith, an alchemist, a gender guide, or a wizard until today, that is. Welcome to Small Talk.
Any and all are welcome here to come and chat with me.
Hi, everyone. Well, it's time for another interview. And my guest today is, now let's see if I can get his name right because I'm notoriously bad at that. Tien Eamas.
Yeah, excellent. Well done.
Oh, yay. So welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me on this show, Nancy.
I am so pleased.
Great.
Yeah, I'm so pleased because when I read your profile on Facebook, because I was just so intrigued. No, you were an alchemist, right? And a goldsmith, as well as a wizard and a gender guide. So I want to, yeah. All right. So I want to talk about the goldsmith first. So it's my understanding of a goldsmith that they make jewelry with gold. That's my understanding. Is that correct?
Yeah. And I also work with my primary metal metallurgy love is silver.
Oh, okay.
And of course, I use gold as well. So I work in all three golds. And just because of the alchemical value of silver, it has a lot more power, I find. And it's actually a lot trickier to work with than gold. And also for me, silver is a lot more accessible for people. So still be able to own precious metal without needing to spend too much, especially in this time right now, right? So yeah, so I do work in mainly in silver and golds and gemstones.
So when did you start working with those metals?
I've been a smith for 26 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you go to a school for that, or did you get training from, like, say, passed down from a parent or anything like that?
No, I actually started off in smithing, particularly. I honestly just did 2 community classes at a local East Side community center, and I took one class and I really liked the technique. It just worked right away for me and it linked right away. I didn't know on a much higher spiritual level what that was all about, but I just got it. And so I followed the guy and I learned with him. And the rest of it was just my own practice, just like everybody in life, right? Life is all about your own journey and your own practice at it. So yeah, that was my basic training in it. And then you pick up things along the way, just like life, great metaphor. You pick up things, you fine tune what you like, you realize these areas or these techniques you don't like, and you don't do them. And you specialize in what you really, really enjoy.
That sounds perfect. I agree with that 100%. So now you make jewelry to sell?
Of course, yeah.
And
it is my main source of income. I do a lot of different things. So jewelry is something that I love, I enjoy. It's easy, and there's so much spiritual lessons and empowerment that it gets to give to people. It provides a lot of love. There's so much heart energy, so much, and it's not your mainstream kind of ordinary jewelry. The jewelry I work with is all magical because there's a very high intentionality and energy that I put into my work. So it vibrates at a whole different frequency. So
do you have a storefront or an online or both? Combination of both?
Yeah, I have a website, so tienthewizard.com. Storefront is mainly when I do shows and events. My studio at the Beaumont Studios, we have monthly open houses at my studio on the last Friday of every month. So people can always pop in my studio and see some of my work here. I used to do a lot more live events, but over the past couple of years have reduced it by intention as well. So when the COVID reality hit us, it was perfect timing for me to stop doing as many markets and shows.
Right.
And I will be found at local Vancouver farmers markets because I am in the Vancouver area.
So where is your location if people want to go to your shop?
My studio is at the Beaumont Studios over 5th and Alberta area. It's by appointment only. It's not a drop-in because it's not a storefront. That's where I do production. And I'm very clear when I'm available to see people and when I'm not. Like, I don't want people popping in when I'm doing an intense fiery joint, when I'm in my own private space of creation, right? So it's definitely by appointment only.
Okay. Now, you're also an alchemist. Now, again, my understanding of an alchemist is somebody who can change, let's just say lead as an example, into a precious metal.
Yeah.
So
the energy, the magical how do you teach magic, right? There is so
Yeah.
much. I teach magic courses and spiritual courses, and there is this myth, where us humans who live very kind of ordinary muggle lives, as in Harry Potter, we like using the word muggle, which is an ordinary
Okay.
three-dimensional life.
Mm-hmm.
We forget that magic is all around us.
Yeah.
And so, as you can see in movies and or in fairy tales or kids' stories, the magic is personified like this fantastical thing, and so it's always taught to us like alchemy, where you transform something and before your very eyes, something amazing happens, like you transform lead into gold. But the actual reality of magic does have to go through the time-space reality of the planet that we are located on, which is when you plant a seed, it doesn't grow into a tree overnight. That's why
Right.
Jack and the
Yeah.
Beanstalk was a fantastic magic story. But the fact is, alchemy is about transformation, where you take something and you alter it and it becomes something brand new. That is the actual definition of alchemy.
Oh,
So, whether lots of people who are very intentional in their work, in their craft, in their teachings, and what they're here on earth to offer, are very clear that our work is alchemy, right? Where you take an awful situation of suffering and transform that into that of love and joy and beauty and all that, right? Or
mm-hmm.
you take a very ordinary uh, ingredients and make a beautiful meal. That's alchemy,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So as long
Yes.
as you infuse it with that intentionality, the magic and the love and the joy, there
Yeah.
you go as alchemy. So for me, the alchemy in my work, whether it be in my teachings and my guidance, readings, coaching, and or my smithing work, is all about magic. It's all about offering a whole different state of being so love and joy and light can be present for all in the face of all sorts of suffering, in the
Okay.
face of all sorts of realities of unpleasantness, racism, colonization, gender and trans hatred, all of that, right? We can
Right.
still shine as bright light. So that's the alchemy I bring into all my work,
Love it.
especially including my silversmithing and goldsmithing.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Now, what is a gender guide?
A gender guide. So what I do as a gender guide is I guide people through, and I'm everybody, right? So everybody through their gender concerns. So a lot of people are unaware that we live in a very binary constrained world where we believe that there's only two kinds of human beings. Now,
Mm,
right now, from the zero to the millennials and or the Gen Ys, that reality of new way of being is already starting to happen. So we
okay.
are already evolving out of the binary of man woman based on sex organs. So as a gender guide, I support people and I bring them through their own journey. And or I teach basic courses like upgrading your gender IQ, where you get to understand, oh, this is what it's about. And
Okay.
I take it way beyond your standard equity or social justice or SOGI, sexual
Mm,
orientation, gender identity education. I bring it to a soul level. That's my commitment. I'm not teaching so much about what's right and what's wrong. I
mhm.
come from a spirit soul guidance where, okay, this is where we're at now on planet Earth. This is what the brain does. This is what our human mechanism does. And then how can we
Mm,
be about this so that we can finally arise and be soul beings
right.
as opposed to man woman? How can you be soul in a body that does have specific functions as sexual organs?
Right.
So the
So,
gender guide will break down all the myths,
okay.
break down all the confusion. I
Hmm.
tear apart all the collapsed meanings. Like a lot of people think that sex organ is the same as gender. No, it's not. And
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's the work that I do, and I leave people empowered, free to choose, and then also at the end of it, the most important, free and clear to relate to another human being, soul to soul.
Right. Right.
You
S-
stop reading somebody as man. You stop dumping all your points of views on someone else because you think they are a man or they think you're a man. You
Right.
now can go beyond that and start relating to a human being as a human being.
Right.
Hmm.
I find that fascinating. It just made me remember years ago, I saw a talk show and there was a person on there who had no sex organs, but because they looked male, the doctor, as they got to be a teenager, the doctor suggested that they put a sock, a rolled up sock in their pants so it looked like they had male genitalia, you know?
Mhm.
And I think now, oh, why wasn't that person just allowed to be that person?
Mhm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah,
so much.
it's taken us years. I mean, I am the first Asian trans man to transition in Vancouver 20 years ago.
Oh, is that
So
right? Okay.
yes, so 20 years ago it was horrible. There was a lot of violence, a lot of hatred, a lot of
Yeah.
ignorance, and so that's all the reality I've been through to go through my own spiritual journey.
Right.
Hence
And-
now, after the foundational years, that we are a very different humanity now, especially with the rise of social media. All the information is getting around the world immediately.
Yeah.
So people can be educated and aware very fast about what's actually going on. And then people can meet each other and different people can come together and go, oh, I'm just like you, or not just like you, but I have similar issues or I have similar challenges.
Yeah.
And therefore, as an energetic field, it gets to rise, right? There's more visibility, there's more awareness, there's more conversation. That's why there's so much more awareness now. The change happened, like, honestly, 5 years ago. And then 2 years ago, when the what I call the portal opened with the COVID pandemic
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
planet Earth, so many things just started falling apart, which then allowed for new consciousness to arise. So we're just in the beginning stages of a whole new awareness for this planet. So it's very fascinating time.
Right. And
But
I'm
yeah,
just,
so is the gender stuff is starting to really break down.
yes. And I'm just thinking
Yeah.
about with your experience, with your knowledge, what you personally have gone through, you're so much more able to help somebody than say somebody who's never gone through it.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for
Yeah,
sure.
no, I like you don't learn about gender freedom for someone who has not lived it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like, don't learn about racism from a white person.
Oh, good point. Good point. Now you're also a wizard.
Hmm.
So what does a wizard do?
A wizard is one who is an alchemist who actually creates magic out of nothing.
Okay.
So a wizard is a magic person. And in all our lifetimes, in all our cultures, pre pre-organized religion, from all our pagan existences, uh, from 200,000 years ago and further, we've always had, different forms of magic people in our lives, right?
Yeah.
People who were really connected to the earth, people who knew how to, like, make amazing things happen, even if it just wasn't possible. So whether we call ourselves, and there's different little in different specialty areas that we focus on, whether you're a wizard or a guru or shaman or, any
Mhm.
of that, right? A spiritual leader or any of that. Um, we're off the same stock. I really believe we're all the same stock. We're here to teach something and
Okay.
do something really great and be able to show the world, show others what is possible when you add that world of magic and awareness into an ordinary situation and transform that. Something else can open up.
Right.
So that's what a wizard does. I love the
Okay.
analogy of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings because he is a great example of what a wizard is. He's fierce, he's powerful, he forges the way, he's courageous, he'll go into battle, he'll fight, he'll kill even. And he's also at the same time delightfully light and playful and goofy. Doesn't take himself too seriously.
Right.
We just don't. We don't take ourselves too seriously. And yet we know what's at the source of our power, right? And that we're always willing to die to ourselves.
Ah, okay. So when
So
did
we're
you
willing to
become,
complete.
right, sorry.
Mhm.
When did you become aware that you were a wizard, that you had that?
It's funny, people started calling me a magician from about 2000 years ago, about 2005.
Okay.
And I didn't quite grow into it until after my Phoenix Rising in 2009. So around 2010, 2011 was when I finally, like, just stepped up and owned the mantle of the wizard. And so
You're,
it's been quite an organic. And then, I did that and never, and I didn't really put that word in any of my media and or marketing until about 4 years ago. Then I finally put the term wizard on my labeling on my identity
but
markers.
you're a head wizard though, not just a wizard, you're a head wizard.
Well, head wizard is just whatever.
Well, no, there has to have some meaning. It has to have some meaning.
Well, it means the big boss.
Okay, well, there you go. So
And I like that word. I like the word.
yeah, so who are you the boss of?
I'm the boss of me, but I'm also the boss of, I say I'm the boss of me. I'm the boss of my work, all my work. right?
Right.
I don't take life too seriously. We can call ourselves whatever we want,
Sure.
right? And I really like the word head wizard because that does have some connotations to being like the headmaster or the,
Oh,
if you look at any of those where you let yourself be the boss and be the 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 high awareness of the teacher of,
right.
right? So I can teach and I can train people and I can speak to people knowing from that place. And at the same time, we always got to be humble and
Yeah. Yes.
be willing to play around with that. Otherwise we get arrogant and we stuck in our ego about it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I like the word head wizard because it's a little bit playful as well.
No, no, you mentioned your Phoenix Rising.
hmm
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
My Phoenix Rising was in 2009, where after I transitioned in Vancouver in 2012, I'd been actually living in this country for about 13 years by then. And I'd experienced a lot of racism and a lot of homophobia because I'm a trans man. So I was born and assigned female when I was
Okay.
born in Singapore. So when I came here, I did come out as a lesbian and lived with lots of sexism, lots of immigration challenges and hatred and
Mm,
in access and a lot of homophobia. And of course, a lot of racism was my reality.
right.
And then when I transitioned, there was so much more other things to manage now. Being the first trans guy, there was nothing like us in
Right.
this community and in Vancouver, like me.
Yes.
So the isolation was extreme. The mass humiliation and public embarrassment was a lot, like on a daily basis, every
Wow.
day, right? There would be so much of all of that stuff. So, after about 8 years of trying so hard to be great, to live as a man and all that, I just broke down. It just dealing with so much problems and hatred all the time. So in 2009, I did attempt suicide.
Oh,
And
wow.
so on that, so it was a gradual happening, right? Years and years
Right.
of just like taking people's crap and
Yeah.
hatred,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Experiencing all of that. And then, of course, no family as well, with all the disownment from coming out to them. So I did attempt suicide. And the morning after was a really amazing time because Tien, the human being, wakes up and is, of course, disappointed that it didn't work. And my soul just beamed down on me. It was really quite surreal because I've never really been in that realm of like I see angels, so
Right.
nothing like that. I'm pretty ordinary human being, right? So suddenly my soul said, Tian, okay, you're still alive. What do you want to do now? And I laid in bed and I was distraught. I said, I don't care anymore. I just don't care.
Right.
I don't care about this stupid life. I don't care if I pass. I don't care if people treat me like a human being or if they treat me like shit, excuse my language. I don't care if people acknowledge me or see me as a man or stop being awful to me. I don't care. I said, I just want to be happy. I don't care anymore about being a successful designer and all of that.
Right.
And and my soul said, okay, that's good. So if you're gonna stick around on Earth, just promise me this one thing, okay? Make sure you have a freaking good time. Otherwise, I give you my blessings. Just go home. Just
Mm,
go home to your maker. If you're not gonna have a good time, go home. And that moment was pivotal in the most pivotal event in my whole
right.
life,
Right.
where I got to choose. I got to choose whether I stuck around and lived on this earth for joy
Yes.
or for suffering. And I'm not coming from a woohoo privilege, never had any hardship, where people say that, right? Where
Right.
I'm like, no, I've had all this and now I know what it's like. And
Mm,
I still go through, I still experience all those silly things that people do to each other, the
right.
hateful things. And I can choose how to engage and how to be in my life to whether continue keeping that around or not. So that was my Phoenix Rising. And at that point, when I chose, everything altered. I closed up my interior design business. I left my business chapter. I was the president and I just stopped everything. I sold my loft and I moved into a little trailer on the Sunshine Coast. And
Wow.
yes, and I got myself into so much debt, so I had no more money, right? So I had to sell everything to um yeah, to get back to some kind of manageable financial state.
Sure, sure.
Uh, but that was an amazing time because then I got to know myself and I got to recommit to joy, and it took a few years, but
Yeah,
that was amazing where I just didn't do anything else
right.
except for my own choice of if this is gonna make me happy.
Yeah.
Not for fame, not for money, not for
No,
obligation,
no.
not to prove that I'm a man, not to, all of that, not to get family agreement or nothing. It was
Right.
just for my joy. And for me, that's always been the most important lesson is that we do everything in life for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to just, I appreciate what you're saying, and I would just like to talk to people out there. It's just your sexual orientation, the color of your skin, your height, whatever it is, that has no impact. It doesn't change me. So I don't understand people's prejudice. I don't get it. I wish I could, but I don't understand it because it doesn't change my life. It doesn't change who you are. Like if you and I met and became friends, and then suddenly I find out something that I hadn't known about you, doesn't change anything, right? So I wish I could understand prejudice. I really wish. And people, I hope you hear what you do to other people when you're mean to them, when you're cruel to them, when you judge them by the color of their skin or by the sex. Just listen and pay attention to what you're doing to another human being. Basically, that's what we have to do, right?
Yes, and I will actually say yes, and there's more to that.
Okay.
For me, as a person of color and as a person who has experienced all these, been at the end of people's hatred and biases,
Yeah.
I know what it's like. I'm not the one who's perpetuating it.
No, right.
From that place of privilege or power.
Yeah.
But when you're talking to somebody, for example, a Caucasoid person, European descent or a white-skinned person, right? There has to be a very, very conscious choice of being responsible.
Yes.
For race dynamics. And that is something that needs to be talked about, right? In terms, especially in the spiritual community, where people like to just go, "Oh, love and light's all that matters." Yes, and I always say yes, absolutely. Love and light and joy and all that is all that matters. And there's more work to do than just spouting that. So yes, it's crucial to listen. Just listen, shut up and listen, and then really locate yourself in the conversation that exists on this planet, because we have to navigate what's actually going on this planet.
Right.
Otherwise we're not being realistic, and we're not being relatable, we're not being responsible for the kind of impact that who we are has on others.
Right.
Yeah, so I appreciate that you say that, to be kind, absolutely, and to listen, because that is core, and there's more work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're going to end the conversation and the interview. I'm just going to say goodbye to the audience. Thank you for listening. I'm going to put Tien's information up for you. And if you're a person who's looking for that's what do I want to say here? If you want to,
honestly, for spiritual guidance, for accessing light and joy and very responsible, relevant conversations and awareness, even around race, around gender, because that's really heated right now, right?
Yes.
Yes. So we want to really upgrade our awareness, and I am here to teach and guide you through these really relevant conversations from soul.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you everybody for watching. Take care and peace out.